I need a lot of stripper clothes. I need them to work on a pole in the champagne room. I need them to have rhinestones, nets, stretch. It's a bizarre thing when somebody tells you they can pull up to your house that night with a bus full of what you need. Hi, I'm Mitchell Travers. I'm the costume designer for Hustlers, and we're back at Show Palace in Long Island City where we shot principal photography for Hustlers.
These Wall Street guys, you see what they did to this country? They stole from everybody.
I knew Bo Burnham quite well, and we were shooting a film called 8th Grade at the time. Laureen, who is his partner, was getting ready to start Hustlers. And at the time, there was no cast attached, it was just the story. They sent the script over to me. I started to read it, and I knew that I was going to do this movie. I just wrote back and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm doing this. I don't know when you shoot, I don't know what the budget is, I don't know who is starring in this movie, but I'm doing the costumes. On this movie, there's a pretty interesting story for most of the costumes. So this is the bus.
This is the bus.
This is the Born Exotic bus. Obviously, this was a huge resource to me as a designer of a movie that takes place partially in a strip club. I had been canvassing the tri-state area for any place that sold clothing like this, and I came across this company, Born Exotic. They obviously supply a lot of the clubs in the area, and they're very used to the demands that the clothing needs. They didn't believe me when I was with them and I was like, I need a lot of stripper clothes. And they were like, of course, like 4 pieces, 6 pieces. And I was like, a few hundred.
Yes.
And I need them to all be different. I need them to work on a pole in the champagne room. I need them to have rhinestones, nets, stretch. It's a bizarre thing when somebody tells you they can pull up to your house that night with a bus full of what you need. The athleticism of this profession demands a lot of its clothing. So it is performance wear, it's sportswear. We are dressing athletes. You know, you have somebody who is lifting their body weight up and down, swinging around a pole. Like, this requires a lot from the clothing that's worn at that time. I looked at a ton of research. I treated this like I was doing a movie about the 40s, and I just surrounded myself with images, with references, with color palette. I wanted to take the audience back and just drop them right back into the mid-2000s. I think it is one of the first movies that's helping to solidify what we now know as the 2000s. When you go to a costume rental house, you can go through rows and rows of curated 1970s stock, 80s, 90s. There is an understanding of what that time looked like for many people. But for the early 2000s, because it is so close to our memory, it hasn't really been defined in the way that a movie can define an era. And so I felt like there was a massive opportunity in that sense to look back at the 2000s and take some of the really important elements and boil it down to give it a language. I love a look, so I knew that this was going to be a look movie, and I'm not afraid to provide that. I also knew that there was a really interesting story about women being told. There are no male relationships that define their relationship. It's not about a boyfriend or a husband or an ex. It's about 2 complicated women going through a complicated process, and it explores the mistakes that get made and the friendship that gets formed in the process. This sounds like a stripper ice cream truck,
yes.
And I'm very interested in that.